Welcome to the Grinbath iGuide eye tracking system. This interactive tutorial will help you set up and run your first test in Capture and look at the results and analyze. This will get you started so you can use your iGuide system to quickly and easily get the most reliable data you can for your tests. After each video clip, perform the activity that you see in the slide for yourself. To skip this tutorial and never see it again, close this browser tab or this browser window. This walkthrough will take about 30 to 45 minutes of your time to complete, just so you know. First, plug in the wireless DVR into a USB 2.0 slot on your computer and wait for the driver installation process to complete. To make sure that you get the best data, adjust your screen so that it is perpendicular to the user's gaze, or as close to 90 degrees as you can manage. Raise or lower the monitor if you need to get it right. Also, lower your screen resolution if it's high. The lower your resolution, the better your results. iGuide works well at 1280 by 1024, which is what people normally view on their computer screens. Double check to see what it is. Mine here is 1280 by 800. I have a widescreen display, so we're good to go. Now let's open up Capture and start a new iGuide project file right there. Now let's name it Tutorial since, well, that's what we're doing. When we're ready, click OK, and the task editor will pop up. We'll need 3 tasks for our tutorial test, so click the Add Task button 3 times. In the task editor, double-click on that first name field right there, and let's name Task 1, Task 1. And we'll name Task 2, Task 2. You get the idea. I guess I like redundancy. When you're designing your own tests, you, of course, can name them something more specific, or you can not name them at all. For our purposes, though, this is fine for now. Double-click on the description field, and add the descriptions that you see on your slide to Tasks 1, 2, and 3. Just copy and paste them, save yourself some time. Now, since the image that I'm going to have them look at for my test is on the CD drive, my test is going to be a little bit different than yours. But that's okay. The data that we look at is going to be pretty comparable, and this is, again, a tutorial. When we're done, let's preview our tasks by clicking the Preview Task button. We cycle through them by clicking OK, and this is exactly how they'll look as the user takes the test. When you're done entering and previewing your tasks, close the task editor by clicking OK. That'll save everything that you've done up to this point. Now that the test is set up, place the unit on the participant's head or have them put it on. Adjust the strap so that it's snug but not uncomfortable. Turn on the unit and point the camera and LED at the user's eye. Now you should see an image kind of like this in Capture. Adjust the camera so that it is as close to the user's eye as is comfortable, and so that the image of the user's pupil is as close to the crosshair in the center of the screen as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer, the better. Next, adjust the LED so that the light is shining on the participant's eye. You want good pupil eye contrast so that the eye is light and the pupil is dark. Minimize glare on the pupil as much as possible. When the circle around the pupil is green like that, you have a lock on the pupil. This means that the eye tracker has found the pupil and can accurately record where the user is going to be looking. Now we need to see how that lock is holding by having the user look at the 4 corners of the screen. And we've lost it in the lower right and the upper right. So the right side of the screen is bad. We need to move the LED so that we get more light onto the eye. Whenever we lose that green circle, we lose the lock. That means the camera is not going to accurately track. So let's readjust it. Okay, let's try the corners again. And now we've lost the left. So let's move the light a little bit up so it's directly on the eye and not on the eyelid. Okay, solid lock there. Lower left, good. Lower right, good. And the upper right is good. Great. This is a lock that we can use to calibrate with and get some good test results with. So let's go with it. Head movement compromises your accuracy, so have users keep their head still by resting their chin in their hands or using a chin rest. We've got our hardware set up, we've got our test set up, so let's go to the File menu and start our test. We'll see a calibration dialog pop up, and we'll click OK. Next, we'll see 9 black circles. Those are the calibration points. As they diminish, have the user look at those until they fully disappear. If they anticipate them, that'll compromise the accuracy. When our calibration is complete, we'll see the results in a series of targets. These targets represent where the user should have been looking during the calibration process. These all look like they're in the green. Yeah, that's very good. So we're going to get between 1 and 5 pixels of accuracy. If we like this, we'll start our test. If we don't, we can cancel, readjust, and start over. We like our calibration, so let's start our test. We click Start Test, and the first task dialog will pop up. It won't record until the user clicks OK. So they read it, click OK, and start the task. Now, when the user is done with the task, ask them to click the green check mark in the lower right corner of the screen. That'll bring up the next task dialog box, which won't start until they click OK again. So have them continue like this until the test is finished. That's more than 10 seconds. Now it's time to open, analyze, and look at our data. Let's go to File, Open Project, right there on the desktop. And as we open the project file, we'll see the preferences pop up. Seconds to fixate refers to how long a user has to look at an area to get a fixation. Fixation radius is the size of that area. So here, if they look at an area of 10 pixels for 0.8 seconds, that's a fixation. We can change this at need, so let's just close this for now. Now, Analyze has 6 data tabs up top, as you can see, and each one has a different purpose and application. So let's go through those. First, we'll go through the playback tabs, Replay and BSwarm. And Replay, as you can see, that pink circle is representative of the user's gaze. That way we can see which user looked at what and when. Each user will have a different color. We only have one, so that's about as much use as we can get. In BSwarm, as you see, all users have red dots instead, so it's anonymized. This way you can see what is drawing users' attention during specific parts of a task. This is more useful, again, the more users you have, but this is what we've got. Now, Task 3 is a static image. It's not as dynamic, so let's deselect that, and let's go back to Replay, so we can analyze how this plays back as they did it. This sort of analysis is good for dynamic tests, such as looking at videos, navigating websites, or moving through software interfaces like we see. And that way we can see how the users processed a task, what they looked at, and what drew their attention as they were searching for what they needed. So reselect Task 3, and let's go to the Gaze Plot tab. Here we see how a user processes the task, where they look, what order, and for how long. The colors still represent the user, but the numbers represent the order that they looked at the screen during the task. So they first fixated at 1, and then they moved on to 2, and so on. The bigger the circle, the longer the fixation at that point. Now, eyes move fast. We're going to need to change the seconds to fixate if we're going to get a good gaze path. So we'll change that to 0.2 to accommodate for the rapid eye movement. And we need to increase the fixation radius because even though people look at one thing, the eye still moves. Now, this is a great tool for individual tasks with a visible gaze plot showing how users looked around, but you can see how this will start to look like a spider web in short order, especially with multiple users. So let's restrict this just to task 1 to keep this manageable. Also, as you can see, this tool will aggregate data. So you may see the users fixate in an area that doesn't make any sense because you don't see anything in the playback. That is when you want to go back to the Replay tab and check out what was on the screen at that time. Let's reselect our tasks and go to the Heat Map tab. Everyone loves heat maps. They're visually impressive and show where your user's focusing, but they're not ideal for all tasks. As you can see, it's kind of bland as it's rendering, and it's aggregating data across the entire recording. The user opened and closed windows during this test, and we even have visual elements that appear and disappear, which muddies it even further. Heat maps are better for static images, not dynamic interfaces. So let's deselect the first 2 tasks and then modify the preferences. Heat maps care about general areas of interest, so we need larger areas and more time to fixate. So let's change the radius to 25 pixels and the seconds to fixate to 1.5 seconds. That will give us large areas of interest with long dwell times. And let's let that render. And keep in mind, this is just one user. More users will always mean better data, and it will produce a more visually appealing heat map. And there you go, a one-user heat map of the Mona Lisa. Now for clusters. Let's recheck our tasks and go to the Clusters tab. In Clusters, we get dynamic areas of interest showing us where users are looking and coming back to. It's a more organic way of getting areas of interest because the user's eyes are telling us where we're looking. Now these preferences are for heat maps, so we need to change this. We need quick eye movement, so 0.3 seconds should do, and we need a larger radius. 30 pixels should do us good. Now we'll get colored areas that indicate where the users spent most of their time. Next to each of those colored areas, you'll see the rectangles that show how many participants looked in the area, at what time a user first fixated in that area, for how long, and how many of their fixations were drawn to that space over the course of the test. After everything renders, we can export the file as this HTML table or as a CSV file. We can alter that in the Preferences menu too. For now, let's just close this. Let's go to the Data tab now. This one's drier than the other ones. It shows a table of users, how long they took per task, the mean of that data, and the length of each user's test. Not much here now with one user, but with more users and tasks, we would have more data to analyze. If you choose, you can also export this data as an HTML table or a CSV file. So all this information is great, but it's not presenting itself. You need to export images and videos of your results for clients and for research and so on. Let's export an image first, and let's go to our heat map from task 3. What we'll do is we'll wait for this to finish rendering, and then we'll go to Export, select Image, and then save it. Now the rendering bar down the bottom, that progress bar, is what you see down there. And as soon as that's full, we'll go to Export, Image, and then we'll name it. Mona Lisa Heat Map User 1. That sounds good. And we'll save it. Now let's export a video. Let's deselect Task 3, select Task 1, and then go to Replay. Now, exporting a video takes more time because it's a lot of data. We've got the analyzed data overlaid on the replay video, so it's going to take a long time. So let's go to Export, Video, and let's name it User 1, Task 1, Replay. Now, this will take some time, so please be patient with it. As I said before, it's a lot of data that's rendering at the same time as it's processing it and exporting it. Now through Movie Magic, we're already at the end. We're almost done. Now, all said, that user video of 12 seconds for only one user took 1.5 minutes to render. If you have more users, more tasks, and more time, it will take more time to render. So keep that in mind and be patient. Your patience will be rewarded. So there you have it, your first run through with Capture and Analyze. I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. If you have any more questions or if you want more detailed information, you can email us at support@grinbath.com. You can check out the support forum at support.grinbath.com, or you can take a gander at the instructional videos on Grinbath's YouTube channel, or you can make it easier on yourself and just click the buttons below. If you have any suggestions, also send those our way. We listen to your feedback and value it highly, and we use it to improve iGuide. Remember, all software upgrades are free. Ask us how we can help you with your research and your planning so that we can help you get the most out of the world's most affordable eye tracker, iGuide.